What do you do when the going gets tough? When your reality is on a downward spiral, the walls start to crumble around you, and the light at the end of the tunnel is shining, but dim. The joy of entering a new year is pure in body and mind. A new opportunity gifted for making it this far. New Year's resolutions, ambitions, dreams and hopes in my heart. A brand new road. An exciting fresh start. Wishing this year was going to be something unlike any I'd seen. But little did I know exactly what that would mean. Remember the Australian forest fires? How we saw a continent full ablaze? Who would have known what was lurking around the corner, ready to test us at every passing stage? We saw how firefighters fought to push the tide, but this was only the beginning. The biggest battle was yet to come, and our homes, once neutral ground, would now become frontline. Remember the first time we heard about the virus and how it took over China? Remember the debates, discussions, and how it wasn't as bad as the flu? That the hype was just nonsense just to put fear into me and to you. But that was the first divide, with each party taking their side. It was coined COVID-19, nicknamed Miss Rona, and in the space of 3 months, the world we lived in had changed. Looking back, it's like seeing an innocent world primed for an incoming predator, an invisible army invading our geographical lines, a force that saw no borders dominating headlines, a world redesigned. I remember constantly shaking off thoughts to pre-COVID times, often hearing friends losing jobs, hoping for the day we would hear good news from state leaders in the headlines. Looking out the window in the time before, we would see busy streets, people everywhere, noise in every direction, but also a series of built experiences to numb the pain of a never-ending sporadic cycle. Like Sisyphus, rolling a boulder up a hill for all eternity, never being able to just stop and think. Looking out now, shops and businesses closed down, deserted towns all around, uneasy silence, people scattered throughout, the rush, the buzz, the constant movement. Society was now on pause. A state of isolation enforced as a security measure. Something usually associated with prison, what we got was a limited edition. A year of repeating words, phrases and faulty predictions. R rates, social distancing, transmissions, PCR and rapid tests, lockdown and travel restrictions. Words that gave us no meaning before became tunes of a song, a never-ending chorus, telling us to keep our distance, hold on, but for how long? Lockdown after lockdown, basic freedom of movement faded away. Safe isolation and quarantine. Our mental states tested every passing day. What was once the normality of life is now a distant memory. Remember looking out the window and daydreaming to another time? There's a saying that goes, be careful what you wish for. Who would have thought those days would now be a daydream destination? Who could blame us? At our current station, we're separated by county lines, borders, restricted travel from our different generations. But in the midst of it all, we always find a way of pulling through. Even though new normal doesn't feel normal to me and to you. With no events, bars, pubs or cinema dates, with nothing happening outside our home, our eyes turn towards our phones. But what we would witness next would seem like the final days of Rome. I remember how I felt when I heard about Ahmaud Arbery, the feelings that stirred within my soul. He was running for fun, but then he ran for his life. That one hit close to home. I also like to run, but I would never think to have to outrun a gun. But the world keeps moving, and I guess the past is the past. But the pace was just moving a little too fast. How long could this last? Incident after incident with no sense of justice. Scared, to switch open my phone, scared to check news feeds and social media posts, seeing a world becoming desensitized, Black Death becoming the new porn. Is this really the new norm? Eight minutes and 46 seconds. On the 47th second, the planet was set alight. People cried, the world's gotten worse, but that's far from the truth. Maybe it will all disappear if I close my eyes and count to 10. Remember when the journalist Omar Hernandez and his crew was arrested live on CNN? I saw protests, riots, and hopeful words. A wise man once said, riots are the language of the unheard. Like a wave, momentum was gathered, hitting the masses from all sides. We were now looking at the needle without the hay. We were watching for the first time with open eyes. People were rallied together. A wave washed across the world. We were freeing ourselves from old ways of thinking, ideology traps, poisoned worldviews. The pilot light within us had finally been ignited. The flame burned brightly after dormant for so long. Harder conversations were had, empathy and bridging the gap. The future will always be brighter than the past. Even though it looked like the final days of Rome, now it started to look a little bit like home. Looking back, it's easy to see a year of repetition. Repeating adverts, pushing the same message in so many different ways. Same tune, different song. The mind has a tendency to stick to certain programming, but if you look beyond our bio-algorithms, widen the peripheral view and take an holistic approach, you'll see some of the positive that was happening outside our rocking boats. Although distance and separated in person, video streaming kept us together because we were determined. We had a year of Google Hangouts, Skyping, FaceTiming, WhatsApp calls and Zoom, bypassing borders and jumping into digital rooms. Routine online events with people via screens and headsets, changing the meaning of strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. We saw home-cooked meals take it to the next level. We saw everyday people growing their wealth and creating something of their own. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. We were learning to feed ourselves for a lifetime. Look closely and you'll see. There were positive stories scattered all across our timeline. Luxembourg became the first to make public transport free. We saw wildlife brave our city streets. The ozone layer continued to repair itself. We saw species brought back from the brink of extinction. Indigenous women leaders got a well-deserved recognition. Demand for renewable energy technology surged, helping purge the destruction we put on the earth. I remember jumping up and down as I did, like a kid, when I saw SpaceX and NASA launch their rockets off into space, taking us one step closer to traveling far among the stars. You see, many would feel this sudden crisis was an attack on the soul, that we saw only the complete loss of control. But look closely and you'll see, it was an invitation to observe, to digest, to act, in a world paused. For a moment, by a Wuhan bat. So what do you do when the going gets tough? The walls start to crumble around you and the light at the end of the tunnel is shining, but dim. Remember, this is temporary. Life has twists and turns. You can't tame fire without getting a little burned. So reflect and see what's important to you in the present, because the future is always in flux, there to mold with what you have learned. Be resilient and patient. Know that every passing moment in time is yours, and the future ahead of you will be one you have earned, regardless of the COVID curse.